Illustrated audiobook, Xkalistar. The first 5 chapters of my new 7-book saga. Based on recommendations, warnings, suggestions, and proposals from internet users who read the PDF that I uploaded to my YouTube channel. Giving me valuable and useful advice, I made this corrected version of the Xkalistar story at the end of 2024. Xkalistar. The Saga of the Maedials. Prologue. The Orange Planet. A brief introduction of what the world in which the characters live is like. In the vast universe, there is a system, Solarium, in which each of its 21 planets has a different color. All inhabited and all interconnected by the dimensional portals that unite them into one. The dimensional portals connect all the worlds together, conforming one. Appearing in different parts of the surface of the worlds, uniting one with the other, and thus each planet is connected to its moons, and in turn, each planet is connected to the remaining 20. The civilizations that appeared throughout all the worlds that make up Solarium, built authentic citadels, that is, walled cities. Progressing in a surreal technology, based on magical colored crystals, each one fulfilling a specific function. With incredibly rudimentary machinery, which works just like that, but it works. Civilizations developed alphabets, although they tried to have a language in common agreement. In the citadels, and important towns, they built squares with a solar-lunar clock, which based on the shadow that the central obelisk projects, measures time. With the hour, day, week, month, and the season of the year. A circular square, with a stone monolith in the center, whose tip is shaped like a needle. And the wise men make marks on the ground in the shadow that it projects, indicating the time. In a process that takes years and years, marking, skipping cloudy days. Or without good light, making sure that everything is correctly well. So that sooner or later, the work is finished. The principal transport is the airship Zeppelin, a mixture of a ship, so that it can navigate the waters. Together with hydrogen balloons, so that it can float in the air, and with propulsion systems so that it can navigate the skies. In nature there were already Zapiris, large animals like cows, that collect hydrogen gas in their backs, and it serves to fly. And from which, the geniuses of civilizations copied the concept of recreating aircrafts. Magic is hovering around the environment, with magicians, who try to dominate it through magic words. Magicians, in most cases, use spoken spells to invoke it and make it do their will. The Vitaloki is a vital energy, like an aura, proper to all living beings. It is given equally to every individual, no matter how big or small, everyone receives the same dose. The technology of the entire Solarium system is archaic medievalist. The true heroes that made technological advancement possible are the colored magic crystals, each with a different functions. They are magical gems with amazing powers and capabilities, which make this surreal technology possible. In an ordinary world, robots are built using ultra-sophisticated metals and plastics, along with advanced electronic circuits. However, here in Solarium, robots are built using wood and a thin sheet of bronze, which is plated to the frame with copper nails, and with colored magic crystals, each one fulfilling its functions. Calculators are analog, in the style of the Antikythera mechanism, that is, a series of gears and rollers marked alphanumerically, which were previously recalculated, in which the rotation of a rotor makes the rest rotate, and thus the result is obtained. To perform simple mathematical functions, additions, subtractions, multiplications, and divisions, the abacus is used. To perform complex mathematical functions, powers, roots, integrals, derivatives, trigonometric and logarithms, analog calculators are used. For everything else, there are logic crystals, which come in blue, indigo, brown, purple, burgundy. The fashion and clothing is simple, more similar to that were used in the late Middle Ages. Although the armor of most armies is similar to that of the ancient Romans, Hoplites, Spartans and Macedonians. Among the population, the colors are bright and vivid for important people, and fade and become dull for the rest of the peasantry. The Medials are warrior monks who make use of the power of the mind, through telekinesis, controlling the magic that roams the environment. They wear simple tunics, in light colors, and generally go barefoot, or wear wooden sandals. They use laser swords, based on colored magic crystals, which, predisposed in such a combination, activate a beam of light when they all come into contact with each other. In a tube, like a screw-on flashlight, which when turned on itself, a hollow nut screw mechanism, makes the crystals come into contact with each other, activating the effect of the 84 cm long laser beam. Laser swords have an average temperature of about 1000 degrees C, and can cut practically anything. When one edge collides with another edge, sparks are produced between them, due to magnetic reconnection. An effect that appears when two or more beams collide, and this physical effect is formed, which causes slight sparks, 1/100th of what an electric weld would be, and which makes both beams cancel each other out momentarily for a few fractions of a second. The way to counteract a laser edge is with another laser edge, or with electricity. In fact, there are weapons such as electric wands and also electric swords, which, through internal wiring, and with the help of orange crystals, generators of electricity that create an electric field to confront the laser sword. The laser beam pistol is similar to the laser sword, only with another arrangement and configuration of the colored magic crystals, and sacrifices power in exchange for greater range, and thus increases its latency, becoming pulsating, being inversely proportional, changing the solidity of the laser sword's edge for a greater length of the laser crossbow's beam, losing power and heat, becoming a beam with a constant pulse, almost cyclical, like a machine gun, of a dozen rounds per minute. In the solar system of Solarium, on the fourth of these planets, the orange one, there is a desert of that color on its surface, but full of life in the surroundings of the rivers and lakes. with plants, animals, and mythical beings that built citadels and civilizations. And in a little corner of this world, is where this story begins. Chapter 1. The Mathiel Saga. The life story of an entire family of monks, fulfilling a mission in distant lands. The blue planet is a global ocean, with 2 enormous continents and countless islands. On one of those continents, Male, in between, there is a mountain range, with dozens of thousands of mountains. Near the citadel of Xkalistar, inside the Mathiel temple, the advanced disciples are practicing with laser swords in the main courtyard. Meanwhile, in a chamber deep inside the temple, the Supreme Grand Master, local leader, who is an old folkier, is meditating deeply. Strange images come to his mind, an orange desert, and a temple between the mountains. And the sinister evil entity, who has the shape of a perfidious skull, laughing macabrely. Upon noticing the metaphysical presence of the Mathiel Grand Master, opening his eyes, he screams, "No!" In one of the rooms, the Zevio Panthide is teaching a dozen disciples. About 25 years old, he has been a monk since he was orphaned in his childhood. A duel with laser swords simulated with wooden sticks, between 2 disciples, livens up the place. One of the apprentices makes a comment. "It was just a little, but next time you won't escape." Zevio intervenes. "No, this is not the authentic path. Students, gather before me." The Master Panthide calls everyone together to give them an explanation, and everyone sits on their knees in front of him. The handle of the laser sword represents childhood, the time of learning of a Mathiel monk. He turns on the laser sword by turning the activation screw. The beam of light represents the path of life that he must follow. He turns off the sword. "My disciples, the Xkalistar laser sword is never a weapon and should never be used as such. It only represents a purpose. And you must never forget that the path is much more important than the destination. This is the philosophy of us, the Mathiels. This is how you will become monks. And this is how you will become knights." An elfier race humanoid enters the room. "Excuse me, Master Zevio, but the Grand Supreme Master wishes to speak with you." Zevio only answers. Continue with the class, practicing in pairs of 2. The Panthide walks down a corridor and enters the room where the Grand Supreme Master Folkier is meditating. Squatting in front of him. "Grand Master, did you want to see me?" "Yes. I have been meditating for several days. And I sense a serious disturbance in the Vitaloki energy. This event has remained elusive to me for years. And now that I have dedicated entire days to it, I feel great dismay. It is the most serious disturbance I have ever seen." Zevio asks. "Is the situation so serious, Grand Master?" "Sometimes evil has to exist so that good can know what good is. Then it is the sacred duty of a Mathiel monk to solve any problem. Where should we begin the task, Supreme Grand Master?" In my visions, an orange desert appeared. And a temple between the mountains called Talama. He puts his hand to his chin. There must be hundreds of kingdoms with that name throughout the solarium system. The orange desert could be the one that has the orange planet. This would shorten the search. The old folkier continues. This event has been brewing for centuries, and it is very serious. You must get the main instrument to end all the evil in that region. A sacred sword that will finish the sinister. Getting up, Zevio advises him. With your permission, Grandmaster. I would like to take one of my old disciples on this mission, Master Norda. And also some other student from the temple. We will leave as soon as we are ready, Grandmaster. In another giant room of the Mathiel temple, the 21-year-old gargoyle, named Norda, has a half-dozen students as prospectors, testing their possibilities in the mastery of mind over matter. Her most advanced apprentice, the 16-year-old orc, named Lyast Kurlog, levitates his laser sword from his hands, making it spin through the power of the mind. Meanwhile, Norda teacher explains to the rest. You must feel the Vitaloki energy flow throughout your body and around you. And you must be able to control it using only the power of the mind. These are the abilities of the Mathiel monks. Lyast adds. Magicians also use magical energies, but they invoke them based on spoken spells. Instead, a Mathiel monk uses only the power of his own mind over matter. Zevio enters the room. Norda clarifies. Disciples, greet Master Integer Zevio. He was my teacher at one time. The 5 apprentices bow, bowing their heads and repeating in chorus. Greetings, Master Integer Xevio. Norda, I will need your help for my next mission. Are you interested? Yes, of course, Master Zevio. And we also need some advanced apprentice to accompany us. The gargoyle points to the orc. He is Lyast Kurlog, and he is my best disciple. He can accompany us without problems. Master flatters me. I will feel very pleased to serve you and Master Integer. Zevio, then we will prepare to leave immediately. The Panthide, the gargoyle, and the orc leave the Mathiel temple, and head towards a walled citadel. That is located at the foot of the mountain, already half a dozen kilometers from home. Inside the small citadel, there is a stone rail, elevated, that extends to both sides, getting lost. At the ends of both horizons, a magnetic train arrives at the citadel, and the passengers enter. With the train moving, Zevio explains to them. We must find a place called Talama, according to the visions of the Great Supreme Master. It is surrounded by an orange desert. We may have to travel to that planet. Norda, that is why we have to go to the citadel of Xkalistar, to take a transport that will take us to that world. Zevio, the first thing we must do is locate that kingdom in the Great Library, then see how to get there. Lyast, this is my first mission, Master Zevio. I hope it goes well. You will do well, Lyast. You just have to trust your instincts, and everything you learned in the Mathiel temple. The magnetic train continues its march at full speed on the stone rail. It will take us more than an hour to reach the great citadel of Xkalistar. From there they will go to the public library to check the maps and thus find this kingdom of Talama. In the distance, it can see the gigantic citadel of Xkalistar, an impressive complex of solid ivory towers. With buildings joined together by suspension bridges, with 3 main towers that reach a couple of 100 meters in height. Hundreds of buildings follow them in chorus, forming a kind of circular pyramid of sticks, with the towers from largest to smallest. Up to the outer walls, a large number of airships of all sizes and types cross its skies. Xkalistar resembles a gigantic metropolitan city, but at the same time, compacted to a diameter of 5 kilometers. The master integer Panthide only comments, "We are already arriving at the great citadel of Xkalistar. The magnetic train is getting closer and closer, and enters the impressive citadel. Through a special railway tunnel, it runs through the interior of the impressive city. Xkalistar is an impressive megametropolis, but compacted, fitting into a 5-kilometer diameter. In addition to the enormous buildings, there is a large number of transport airships, passenger, taxi, cargo, etc., that circulate everywhere, forming authentic aerial highways. Thousands of years ago, everything was a gigantic mountain of solid ivory, which was located in front of the sea. The inhabitants of the place were carving the rock, polishing it, little by little, from top to bottom. And so, over the centuries, the useless layers were removed, and the citadel came to light. The train reaches the opposite end, passing through the entire city center, and arriving at the terminal station next to the airport. The train stops and the passengers get off, including the Mathials. The gargoyle's wings can be folded up to be used as a cape. That's how the Master Norda uses her wings when walking among the crowd going from here to there. The Panthide and the gargoyle had already been in the great metropolis before. Not so the young orc, who exclaims surprised by everything he sees. "Liest, it's impressive. Zvo, let's go." Norda, the airport is in that direction. Zvo, yes, but first we have to go to the library. Taxi. A mini airship taxi takes the 3 Mathial monks to the public library. Already inside the building, the librarian, of Pisophoid race, attends to them. "How can I help you, Mathial knights?" "Zvo, we are looking for a kingdom called Talama, and we believe it is on the Orange Planet." On a shelf containing hundreds of data cubes made of white crystal, the librarian takes one of them and places it on a serial computer, a huge, flat, gray crystal, which projects a holographic map, and the librarian places the data cube to display the information it contains. Pisophoida Talama. Talama, there are 5 places with that name or similar on the Orange Planet. The detailed maps are on shelf number 15, column Rimba, in an adjoining room. "Here is the data. I'm sorry, I can't help you more without you giving me more information." Zvo, yes, that's fine, we'll know how to manage from here. Thanks for everything, librarian. Norda spreads the maps on a table. Meanwhile, Zvo passes his hand over different areas of the map. using his dowsing powers, sensing where what one wants is, using a map. Until near the southeast area of the planisphere. Here it is, I can sense it. Liest Master Zevio, how is that? Norda, they are mental dowsing powers, they serve to find what one is looking for in the maps. Perhaps one day you will develop these mental powers too, Liest. Zevio, this kingdom is located near the mountains of the southeast, and is surrounded by the Orange Desert. Just as the great Supreme Master predicted. Norda, look, this kingdom here, Xkalistar, has an airport. It is almost certain that there will be transport airships that travel to the place. Zevio. And from there, we will have to continue heading southeast. Now arriving at the city airport, a gigantic hangar with an exit to the outside. Zevio, we are Mathiel monks, we are looking to go to the kingdom of Xkalistar that is located on the Orange Planet, in order to continue on our way to the kingdom of Talama, to the south. Checking a list, the inspector of the Yakarde race tells them. A transport airship will leave in a couple of hours to that place. I can reserve a cabin for you. Zevio, yes, that will be fine. Later that day. Zevio, Norda and Liest Kurlog are in the cabin with the Pisophoid captain. The Aero Corvette, a mixture of ship and airship, takes off. Captain, with what Mathiel monks, isn't it? I had to take some to other planets. But this is the first time I have to take them to the Orange World. Zevio, and in reality we must go to a place called Talama. Talama? Yes, according to the visions of our great master, it is a place surrounded by mountains. Captain, yes, it is the Talam mountain range, it has thousands of mountains that form it, and there the river Talzar is born. And in the delta where it flows, the citadel of Xkalistar is built, where we are headed. And in that mountain range is the kingdom of Talama? I know of a place called Talamaska, which is at the foot of a mountain, but it is not surrounded by many of them. Norda, will it be the place we are looking for? Zevio, yes, it is possible. It is on the Orange Planet, and there are mountains nearby, it must be the place of the visions of the Great Master. Liest, and how long will the trip take us? Captain, we are flying over the Eastern Sea. We must stop at the citadel of Turkalion, and then continue on to Mitron, where the dimensional portal to the Orange Planet is. It will take us about 2 weeks of travel, more or less. Zevio, yes, it is okay, Captain, we are not in a hurry. Norda, Xkalistar is our final stop, is it not? Captain, yes, and it will still be a long way to get to Xkalistar. And the kingdom of Talamaska, that you are looking for, is even further away. And I do not believe that there are transport airships to that region of the southeast. Zevio, we will have to manage on our own once we reach Xkalistar. From between the clouds and out of nowhere, another airship appears, approaching from half a kilometer away. Norda, look, Captain. That air galleon over there is approaching us. Captain, this approach is not normal. Norda, if they keep going like this, they are going to crash into us. The air galleon quickly takes out its pirate flag, black background with a wolfer skull and 2 crossed swords. Captain, it's Sango. They are air pirates. Sound the alarm, everyone to their positions. The airship encounters air pirates, and the Mathiel monks must fight them. A duct of wooden palisades connects both aircrafts. Captain, too late, they are boarding us. ZVO, we will take charge, Captain. Activating their laser swords, the 3 Mathiel monks face off the robots and other pirates that try to enter. ZVO, come on. We will fight them aboard their aircraft. A Soroid called Corso notices the characteristic weapon of a Mathiel monk, a laser sword. Running into the cabin, he shouts, Captain Sango. There were some Mathiel knights in the transport airship. Right now, they are attacking us. Sango bellows with fury. What? Abort everything. ZVO, Norda and Lyast continue with pure laser sword blows, from here to there. The Panthide orders. Go to the stern, look for the propulsion engines and destroy them. Both answer without hesitation. The pirate wolfer faces the Panthide. Sango shouts, Mathiel Knight. ZVO finishes off another of the pirates, when he turns around to identify the leader of all of them. The wolfer shouts furiously, I have faced the Mathiels before, that's why I know that the electric swords serve to restrain the laser. And taking a special sword from the wall, he activates a switch that makes sparks come out from the tip itself, which try to return to the edge to close the electric circuit. Hitting each other with great fury, both face each other. ZVO, in a quick, fluid, accurate, and perfect movement, takes the initiative, making a balanced jump and directed a stab at the wolfer's shoulder that would have killed him instantly, if it were not for the fact that he was trained in the art of the stabbing sword, giving and knowing how to counter a straight frontal stab. The wolfer stepped back due to the impact, but immediately regained his balance. He turned around and attacked with his sword horizontally, at shoulder height. A blow that was stopped by the laser, giving off electric sparks from the blow. Fighting in a small space, between the corridors that connect the cabins. The Panthide is agile and dodging the deadly stabs of the pirate wolfer. The Panthide makes a feint with a jump, and it seems that he would attack from the left, when he would do so from the right. Supporting his foot to pivot along the wall, falling in the opposite direction to where the wolfer was, only. The pirate's quick reflexes prevented him from falling into this stab that would have been fatal. The electric sword that the pirate uses, grazes the skin of the Panthide, and the discharge is felt. Screaming in pain, the Mathiel training does serve to do great things, like regaining composure. Both remain still for a moment, to catch their breath. Both of them moved in a circle, studying each other with wary eyes from behind their blades, laser from one, electric from the other. ZVO took a step forward and stood on guard. He didn't say anything or show anything obvious. He made a feint. It seemed like he was going to attack from the right when in reality he brought down his straight sword. sure and firm from the left, trying to pierce his stomach. Both of them remained on guard, with their legs bent, ready to attack at any moment. After a while, he saw a gap in his enemy's guard, who, enraged by his attack, had neglected his defense. The Mathiel monk leaned forward and took advantage of the movement to give him a sharp punch to the jaw, something that made the pirate lose initiative and coherence. Then he saw another gap in the wolfer's defense, and took advantage to elbow him in the face, with a backward turn. While both swords, the laser and the electric, continued to clash against each other. Sango, being caught off guard, screams in pain, a scream that resonated throughout all the airship. The gargoyle and his orc disciple continue to fight against others, until they hear the angry aggression coming from the bow area. He approaches to verify that everything was okay. Norda screams worried. Zevio. There, Wolfer Sango learns the name of his adversary. I'll be fine, take care of the rest of the airship. Yes, master. The gargoyle answers without hesitation, that the most important thing is to leave the pirate aircraft disabled and damaged, so that the rest could continue on their way. In the stern area below deck, where the steam engines are, Laius destroys the boiler piston that turns one of the turbo propellers. Well, the other one is missing. Norda, by cutting a cloth with the laser sword, this generates a spark, which causes a fire. The flames spread everywhere. Concluding his fight against the pirate leader, Zevio suggests, "We must retreat, there is nothing more we can do here." The Mathiels return to their air transport, while they cut the boarding gangway. The pirate's aero galleon catches fire, as it moves away, to then crash on the beaches of a desert island. The Pisophoid captain thanks the monks for their brave work. For the rest of the days, the journey in the airship continues peacefully for the Mathiels. Entering the dimensional portal that takes them to the Orange Planet, they come out in the cosmic hole that formed around the Port Alec Fortress, an Orc's citadel. Already on the Orange Planet, who manage the portal, charging their toll for using it. Then the airship continues flying, crossing the Lake Calax. And after 100 kilometers of travel, the captain clarifies. There, on the horizon, you can see the elven city of Kalinor. Laius, we've finally arrived. Zevio, not yet, we have a long way to go to reach Talama. End. Chapter 2. The Two Swords. The arrival to the kingdom that has that symbol on its banner flag. Kalinor is a magnificent city, built on the delta of the Talsar River, on the 30 islands and islets that emerged there, being almost practically the Venice of the Orange Planet. Grandiloquent buildings, some of them up to 4 stories high, with wide bridges that unite everything. There are only avenues and small streets. The medium-sized streets do not appear due to a question of space. The city continues to the margins, where there are some buildings next to an airport, and after this, a palisade with low walls begins, as the only protection. Although the city can be invaded by sea, A powerful fleet of its own would prevent it. This is where the Mathiel monks arrived in their search to solve whatever problem was foreseen by their great master leader. The airship Aero corvette is anchored in the river port, with its laborers taking out the goods for the exchange. Meanwhile, among the alleys of the citadel of Kalinor, an elf answers their questions. Talama. I don't know any kingdom with that name, but there is one called Talamaska. It is located at the foot of the Talam Mountains. It is towards the southeast. You must continue upriver, it will be about 2 weeks on foot. Well, thanks for everything. Thanks Zevio Panthide. Continuing to chat with the inhabitants, to gather more information about the destination point. Talamaska is where the Talsar River originates. You could look for a boat that takes them upriver. A boat that travels upriver, to the citadel of Volgert, the capital of the neighboring kingdom to the south. From there, the journey will be shorter and shorter still. Volgert, the capital of the Fokieer kingdom of Volgonia, final destination of the last transport. The Mathiels have to continue on their way, step by step. Leaving the magnificent citadel, they only have to travel rough paths. Made of crushed stone, with wooden planks on top, to give it some support. The rain, the mud, and the weight of traffic are responsible for molding everything so that the road remains firm. Over time, walking through the countryside, they see the Zapiris, giants of the sky like cows, that stay afloat using enormous natural bags where they collect hydrogen. Laius asks, Master Zevio, what are those things? Zapiris are wild animals. They collect hydrogen gas in the natural bags they have on their backs, that's how they stay afloat in the air. The gargoyle Norda adds. They say that hundreds of years ago, the Zapiris were the ones who inspired the geniuses to create the dirigibles. A aero cruiser, an elongated tubular dirigible hundreds of meters long, flies over the Mathiels. On its sides, on its back and belly, it has its banner. The symbol of magic, the triangle with middle points pointing down, surrounded by an inner circle, all in yellow on a red background. Norda look, Master Zevio, it's a transport dirigible. We could have taken it to get to the region faster. Zevio no. You've seen their symbol. It's a transport belonging to the Bankal clan. I doubt very much that they would have even approached us. The orc asks. The Bankal clan? Zevio yes, it's a political financial monopoly, they must have viceroyalties in these region. The days go by, walking the whole way upriver. In one of those nights, in an inn in the kingdom of Kyritenia. Zevio and we're looking for the kingdom of Talama. Fokieer yes, it's the Talam mountain range, and at the foot of the mountains, there's the orc kingdom of Talamaska. You must continue upriver 100 kilometers. Their king is called Zorlog, I think. Zevio on the way here, we saw Bankal clan airships. Fokieer yes, they have a viceroyalty to the south, they are scattered colonies and they seek to unite them into one. Norda, so traveling south, the situation gets worse? Folkier, yes, I'm afraid so. Also on the river, there is an island where the citadel of REWRITTEN is located. The capital of his viceroyalty in this region. Norda, perhaps this would be the warning that the Supreme Grand Master saw with his visions. Zvo, I think we are on the right path. Refueling in the taverns that remain on the long road to the south, walking during the day, parking at night. What else do you know about that kingdom? Its capital citadel is called Telamiskal. It is a kingdom of orcs, and its king is called Zorlog, I know. The days keep passing, of the approximately 2 weeks that it will take them to go on foot. From Kalanur to Telamiskal, halfway there is the citadel of REWRITTEN. Contemplating everything from a hill. The Talsar River forks in two, with an island of just over half a kilometer, where the imposing place was built. Nearby, there is an airport, where air cruisers land, with their load of droids. Battle robots armed to the teeth. Zvo, the citadel of REWRITTEN. Norda, until now, what the locals told us was true. Liest, what do we do, masters? Do we go inside? Zvo, yes. I am curious to see what this viceroyalty is like locally. The citadel of REWRITTEN, built on an island of the Talsar River, has an entrance with an exit to the other side. There are at least 4 bridges to connect the island with both banks. With a river port in the widest part of the river. Inside, it is a very bustling place, with lots of people coming from other kingdoms to trade. With squadrons of droids watching each street, and with a palace in between. Where the rulers of the Zargon, Yakards, Remlanian races, pass through. The walls cover it, although on the outskirts, leaving the main island. There are villages of small houses around. If they wanted to conquer the citadel, they would besiege it from outside, and enter through the river. Taking the outer district first, and then invading the island itself. The Mathials continue on their way, having gone practically unnoticed among the crowd. A few days later, already close to their destination. At dusk, continuing along the road, a sign welcomes travelers. The Orc Kingdom has its banner flag, made up of 2 crossed red swords on a blue background. Norda, we have arrived at the Kingdom of Telamiskal. Liest, finally. Zvo, this is just a border post. The kingdom's capital must be several kilometers ahead. The gargoyle clarifies. By the marker marks, we must be about 50 kilometers from their capital. Zvo, it will get dark soon, we will rest here. We will get up early to continue on our way. And reach their main citadel around noon. At nightfall, in the middle of the forest, between a campfire. Zvo, something tells me we are on the right path. We are heading to the Kingdom of Telamiskal, just as the Supreme Master predicted. And this kingdom seems to have problems with the Bankal clan, as the locals warn us. The gargoyle adds. It seems it will be a short mission. Liest, not so much for the trip, Master Norda. At the sound of some rustling in the bushes, the Panthide exclaims. Attention! I sense something evil approaching us. The three Madiels draw their laser swords. A dozen skeletons come out of the forest. Although they are no match for the Madiels. Laius shouts. Skeletons! The gargoyle exclaims. Yes, but it is strange, the Bankel clan does not use magic. The master guide intuits. There is no doubt that it is the work of a sorcerer. Perhaps he is the one who caused the problem in Talamasca. Just as the great master saw it with his visions. Finishing off the last remaining skeletons is no longer a problem. Even using the telekinetic powers of a Madiel to make the stones hit the bones. The gargoyle adds. I don't think we've traveled so much distance for so many days, just to face some skeletons. Zevio, yes, I agree with you, Norda. Whatever it is, we'll find out when we get to our destination. The spy shadows, beings of evil, volumetric darknesses that serve perverse purposes. Keep watching them from the darkness of the bushes. With the first light of dawn, the Madiels get up, having taken turns in the night guards. For fear that the skeletons would appear again. Continuing on their way and arriving at the Talamiscal citadel at noon. Built on the left bank of the river, which in this area is about 6 meters wide, with numerous bridges that connect one bank with the other. The citadel being about 2 kilometers in diameter, with more than 10,000 inhabitants inside the walls. Some orc soldiers keep watch at one of the entrance gates, and the Madiels approach them, greeting them. Strangers, what are you looking for here? Zevio, we are emissaries, we come from far away, and we request an audience with your king. Orc, our King Zorlok is in the royal palace, come with me. Some Panthides, Vampirgs, Folkirs and Jagart slaves are working on the construction. Norda, Master Zevio, have you seen the large number of slaves there are in this kingdom? These are the orc laws. The soldier replies. Entering the palace, they are taken through a large hall to the end, to the throne room, where King Zorlok and his court are gathered. Made up of Gorluk, Raskelin, and a dozen more advisors. A royal guard announces the arrival of emissaries from distant lands. The Orc King takes the opportunity to sit on his throne to receive them in audience. Zevio, greetings King Zorlok, we request an audience with you. Gorluk, a gargoyle and representative of his race, before the council of the kingdom. What do these foreigners want in our kingdom? Norda, we are Madiel monks fulfilling a mission. Zorlok, and what is a Madiel? Zevio, we are warrior monks and we offer our services for the path of good. We travel to any part of the entire solarium system where we are most needed, so that good, truth and justice may triumph. Zorlok, and what are your intentions? Zevio, our great supreme master, leader of the Madiel order, had visions during his meditations, and he saw that your kingdom is in trouble. That is why he sent the three of us to investigate and thus resolve any evil that there was. Gorluk, visions of a sorcerer? Norda, we are not sorcerers, we are Madiel monks. We use the control of energy through the mind. So, using his telekinetic powers, the gargoyle makes some glasses placed on the counter table shake. Gorluk only exclaims, "Incredible! Zorluk, and those visions of your supreme master, what do they refer to?" "Zbo, that's why we traveled so far, to get here. And find out what the problem is, helping you in everything you need." King Zorluk murmuring to his advisors, "Can we trust them?" Gesturing to each other. The king rises from his royal seat. "Come with me, Maidils." In the next room, there is a table with a huge map of the region. Sewn in cloth, although with some traces of paint here and there. We are here. Nearby is the viceroyalty of Bankal clan, with its capital is in the citadel of Rilder. Zbo, yes, on the way here, we passed by there, and we saw their Droi Zeta's troops preparing. Zorluk, my spies informed me that they are preparing, to one day, invade my neighbors to the north. What we don't know is if we will follow them later. Zbo, whatever happens, Your Majesty, the balance of power is going to change, and you will have to be prepared. The orc Raskelin, advisor to the court of King Zorluk, is attentive to everything that is said and done, mainly by the new outsiders. The orc Kalzum is the Menstad of the kingdom, the mind statesman of King Zorluk, who is there to perform calculations and memorize things for him. He is his personal assistant, and his closest collaborator. He is almost a living computer. Other advisors in the royal court are the aforementioned Gorluk, representative of the gargoyle races that inhabit the kingdom. A Wolfer representing his own kind, Folkir, Jagart, a quartet of orc generals who administer the royal army. Plus another dozen assistants, such as language interpreters, financial advisors, and masters, ministers. King Zorluk is a widower, and has a 15-year-old daughter, Princess Didalia. Under royal order, that the Maidils receive lodging at the city inn. The banner of the Orc Kingdom of Talamaska consists of two crossed swords, red on a blue background. The banner of King Zorluk, which represents his reign and form of government, consists of two intertwined Z letters. Z letters in the Dualic alphabet, the official language of the kingdom, and the symbol looks like a C with a diagonal bar. Two intertwined mirrors represent the emblem of King Zorluk and his government. The city tavern is a bar and restaurant on the ground floor, with a staircase that leads to the 3 upper floors, where there are small rooms for rent to spend the night. The tavern keeper lives with his family on the 3rd floor. The last of all, where he has his house. The Maidils will have to share the same room, which remains somewhat austere for those who are used to living like monks. The next day, the 3 monks tour the citadel of Talamaskal. Passing through the main square, with its sundial lunar clock, the adjoining market, the artisans who work with the material, the street vendors, and those who own shops in the fairgrounds, carts with provisions that arrive. Houses built with stone on the ground floor, and with wood on the upper floors. At least half of the inhabitants are orcs, followed by other races. The new buildings are raised with whips and sweat. Norda exclaims. Have you noticed, Master? Zevio, yes. I have never seen a kingdom as slave-like as this one before. Liest, and what about the visions of the Supreme Master? Zevio, I have not yet discovered it, but if you see something strange, just say it. We will remain in this kingdom until we have resolved what the Grand Master said. An orc soldier goes to meet them. You. Pointing to the Panthide. The Mathiel leader must meet with our King Zorlog. The royal palace, like every palace worth its salt in the entire solarium system, is divided into 9 sections, as if it were a tic-tac-toe. The central part is a large hall that gives access to all the other areas. There is a main entrance or esplanade. And on the sides, the stables for the guard staff, and the consul's courtyard to receive ambassadors. Next are the royal offices for the administrative staff, the royal apartments, where the bedrooms are. At the back of everything, the throne room, where the royal seat is, and on the sides, the royal courtyard and the royal garden. All surrounded by high walls, almost 3 meters high, with walkways and corridors for the guard. The entire complex will measure at most, a little more than 300 meters on each side. In the royal gardens, alone, the Orc King and the Panthide. Although with the royal guards who remain at a distance, guarding the entrances and walls. Zevio relates. With Norda and Liest, we come from the Blue Planet, on the male continent. Among the central mountains, there nearby, is built the citadel of Xkalistar. A few kilometers from there, up the highlands, is our Mathiel temple. It was founded centuries ago, and receives disciples from all corners of the solarium system. Our religion, our philosophy of life, revolves around our laser swords. Or Xkalistar in our ancient language. The king interrupts him. I know about Arcalia, the citadel of the magicians. Yes, Arcalia is located almost 500 kilometers from our Mathiel temple. I know that magicians usually go to Arcalia to be instructed, and then work as advisors on matters of magic, in the kingdoms of this region. Yes, I know about how the magic school of Arcalia works. I had never heard about the Mathiels. Are they the adversaries of the magicians? No, nothing to do with it. We are 2 totally different philosophies. Each with their own different beliefs and methodologies. We do not compete against the magicians, if that was the question. Zorlog questions intrigued. And why are you in this region, then? Our great Supreme Master, the leader of all of us, had visions during his meditations, something about the Orange Desert, the Talam mountain range and the kingdom of Talama. Talamaska, my kingdom is called Talamaska, it means at the foot of the mountains, in our ancient language. And did your master's visions show you that my kingdom is in danger? And by whom? That is what we do not know and we seek to find out. And what do you have so far? On the way here we came across skeletons. Yes, some wizards who rely on evil magic. One of our past mistakes, trusting a wrong necromancer. He was banished far away years ago and we never heard from him again. but his spell still continues, it seems. But if there was a serious danger for me and my kingdom, it would be from another kingdom, don't you think? A solid and strong competitor, and not someone solitary and loser. Meanwhile, flying through the skies, a small and stealthy, blue-black airship approaches the kingdom of Talamasca and lands in a forest, far south of the capital citadel. A Torquian bounty hunter is in charge, along with his tutor, a young Jagarta girl. Torquian Dominox, we will try to approach Talamasca without attracting too much attention. Dominox, yes master. I'll look for a clearing in the southern forest. The Torquian bounty hunter gets off, along with a trio of Zuran model Spheroids. Stay on the airship Dominox, you know the rules. Yes, master, if you don't return in less than a week, it's because something serious happened. And I must travel to the pirate stronghold of Zephyria to stay there. Heading towards Talamasca, with the robots ahead, playing holograms of some peasant orcs. The Torquian and the Spheroids, disguised as peasant orcs, arrive at the tavern of the citadel, where Zevio, Norda, and Lyast are staying. At night, in the tavern of Talamasca. On the ground floor, some are partying, drinking beer. The Torquian and his machines are on the first floor, resting. And the Mathiels are in their room on the second floor, reflecting on the day that passed. The Panthide clarifies what happened. And the king had called me to ask me about our presence. The Gargoyle also clarifies things. With Lyast, we continue to tour the citadel. We had never before seen a kingdom as slave-like as this one. Zevio, I don't think this is the kingdom we're looking for. In the Xkalistar library, I sensed that it was in this area, but now I doubt it. Norda, why do you say that, master? Zevio, it's a feeling I have. Norda, do you think we've got the kingdom mixed up, but how? I don't know. The Grand Supreme Master saw in his visions a place called Talama. And this is the kingdom of Talamasca, the name is very similar. Maybe our mission is to help these slaves, I don't know exactly. Lyast, and what the other innkeeper said. The one who talked about the Bankal clan wanting to conquer the other kingdoms? Norda adds. The one of the Vampirgs of the north? Lyast, yes, the same one. Norda, and the visions of the Supreme Master. Did they discover something? Zevio, I still haven't figured it out. Did you see anything strange? Both of them respond negatively. Zevio, I don't know what exactly the Great Master saw with his visions. But the only thing we can do to alleviate the suffering of these slaves is to help them become Mathiel monks. End. Chapter 3. The Shadow Games. A wicked conspiracy from the deepest darkness. The citadel of Talamasca, capital of the Orc Kingdom, is built in the shape of an oval. At first, decades ago, it was in the shape of a circle, with the old palace in the center. When a new palace was built, leaving the old one abandoned, a part of the wall was demolished to make way for the expansion, and the perimeter wall was left with the shape of two spheres encircled by each other with an oval outline. With a little more than 2 kilometers in diameter, it is a normal size for a populous citadel of just under 15,000 inhabitants. In the royal palace, the Mathiel monks explain to Zorlok their reason. Gargoyle Norda gives a demonstration, levitating her sword in the air, spinning it on its axis. And this is how a laser sword works. Based on the 7 colored magic crystals, which when they all come into contact with each other, the last one being the one that gives the color to the edge. But this is just a technical aspect. The Panthide adds, the laser sword, or Xkalistar in our language, is more than that. It is a philosophy of life of how a Mathiel knight has to be. To be warrior monks on the path of good, truth and justice. The Orc King asks, and could you build one of your Mathiel temples here, in Tlamiskal? You would be close to us to help us in whatever your great master of Xkalian has glimpsed. ZVOR philosophy prohibits slavery, or any kind of service that is not to our own destiny. Zorlok swears, I promise you that I will free the slaves who become Mathiel monks, as long as they swear their loyalty and fidelity to me. If that is the case, then yes. In the city tavern, the Torkian bounty hunter is at the table, eating. The 3 Spheroids are next to him, standing and wearing the holographic orc disguise. Saying to Spheroid 1, go and tour the citadel, so we will know what it is like on the holographic map. Responding with a metallic voice, understood. He returns to his room after lunch on the ground floor. The king, along with his entourage, and with the 3 Mathiels, walk through the streets of Tlamiskal. While Spheroid 1, with a holographic orc disguise, also walks through it. To radio transmit everything to his companions, in the Torkian room. To draw up a holographic map of the area where the assignment will take place. King Zorlok, along with some advisors, and the Mathiels, walk towards the other side of the citadel, and arrive at a small palace with a large courtyard. Zorlok, this was the old palace where my grandfather lived, my ancestors had it built. Although after the new one was built, it was converted into a museum. They can be used it as a Mathiel temple. Norda, it is large and spacious, with a large courtyard. ZVO, yes, it will be perfect. Pointing with his palm. Liest, we will have to build wooden rooms on the upper part. Zorlok, in the past, this was the government palace. I used to play here as a child, when my grandfather reigned. Then my father decided to enlarge the citadel even more, building the palace where I am now. Will this construction serve as a Mathiel temple? ZVO, yes, it will be magnificent. Meanwhile, walking through the streets of Tlamiskal, Spheroid number 1, disguised as an orc guard, walks through all the streets, scanning the place, and radio transmitting everything to his second companion, who is in the Torkian's room in the tavern, looking at the holographic maps of the citadel. Spheroid 2, the low walls of this sector can be a good escape route. The Torkian reaffirms, yes, That's what I was thinking. Spheroid 3 receives a radio communication. It's a radio hologram from the one, reprojecting the hologram centimeters from the ground. Master, the king is not in the palace. It's a good time to contact our client. The Torquian answers. Yes, go right now. In the palace offices, Spheroid number 1 meets with the Orc advisor Raskellen. The machinery, which made a hologram of another soldier, appears before him. Raskellen only asks him in a contemptuous manner. What do you want? The Spheroid turns off his holographic disguise as a soldier, showing himself as an spherical robot that floats over the ground. Using a LiDAR, laser radar, to scan the environment. The Orc advisor is surprised. What the hell? Speaking with his robotic voice. My master asked me to look for you to contact you by radio hologram. Meanwhile, inside the city inn, in the rooms of the Torquian bounty hunter, the third Spheroid approaches, projecting on the wall a radio hologram of the nefarious Raskellen, the principal Orc advisor. Your work has been recommended to me, Hunter. I trust that in less than 2 days you will fulfill the plot to assassinate King Zorlog. Torquian, don't worry about that. I am in Telomyskal right now, and I would like to receive my payment in advance. Let's set a place to meet then, the alley behind the tavern perhaps. Yes, come in half an hour. Meanwhile, in the former palace, now turned into a brand new Mathiel temple, the monks describe everything that is needed, so that the scribes can make a list. Zevio and we need the craftsmen to be at our disposal to build everything we need for the new temple. Liest a blacksmith to build the activation threads. Norda, and not only that, we must also get colored energy crystals. Gorluk, there is a crystal mine to the south, in the caves of the Lake Raman mountain. Zevio, we will need a guide to take us there, to those caves. The king is excited about the achievements. Let all the kingdom's guards come to the new Mathiel temple. They will be the first to become knights. Gorluk only answers, Your Majesty. Explaining to the Mathiels. Gorluk is my advisor in the affairs of the gargoyles, who are allowed to live in my kingdom, as long as they swear their loyalty to me. Liest continues advising the scribe, who prepares the list of everything necessary. We need glassmakers, also turners, carpenters, blacksmiths. Touring the facilities. Nor do we need some wooden spheres, so that the candidates can test their Vitaloki powers. Zorlog Vitaloki. What is Vitaloki? The Panthide, Grand Master explains. All mortal living beings possess an internal energy, like an aura. There are those who can tame it and make it do their will, through the mind. Zorlog, that is magic. Zevio, no, magic is based on forces of nature, which magicians try to dominate through spells. The Vitaloki is more of oneself, than of the environment. I don't understand anything. Through the power of thought, of the mind. We, the Mathiel monks, rely on extending our own personal Vitaloki, and using it in this way. We call this telekinesis. So they are like magicians, but without magic items or magic words. Yes, something like that. In the alley, behind the city tavern, the Torquian receives a sack with gold coins, and plays around weighing it. I killed many kings in the past, but this is the first time that I will do it without there being an heir to the throne to succeed him. It is clear that there are no political motives in this plot. May I ask what the real objective is? Rascalin only answers evasively. I'm only interested in what the king is carrying. I'll be able to snatch it from him without any problems once he's in his grave. I could get it for him just like that. Rascalin intervenes. This king is a hindrance to my plans. You just take care of eliminating him, and I'll take care of the rest of the details. While the orc leaves, you already have your mission and half of the payment. Now do what is asked of you. In the new Mathiel temple of Telamaskal, the candidates gathered, all orcs. The Master Zevio explains things to them. This is a simple wooden sphere. I will place it on the ground, and you, with the telekinetic power of the mind, must move it from one side to the other. Like this. The royal guard, made up entirely of orcs, tries to pass the prospecting tests in telekinesis, and fails. The other orc soldiers also try to pass the prospecting tests, and also fail. In fact, orcs are not good at mastering magic. Except for a few exceptions, such as the orc named Zistel. King Zorlok was watching it all. Of hundreds of my guards who tried to pass these tests, only a couple succeeded. Why is this? Zevio, some are naturally capable of telekinesis, Your Majesty. Zorlok, I want some orcs Mathiel knights, who are totally loyal to me and who protect my kingdom. Zevio, things don't work like that, Your Majesty. Our philosophy prohibits slavery, or any kind of service that is not to our own destiny. Laiest interrupts. And the other races, like the vampirgs, wolfers, and the gargoyles? Zorlok, if they want to become Mathiel knights, then they will have to swear loyalty to me, and serve in the Talamascan army, under my command. The wolfer advisor approaches him with papers. Zorlok, I have to resolve matters in the palace. In the meantime, continue doing what you are doing. Some carpenters arrive at the temple with wood to build the upper chambers, austere rooms, so that the monks can live reasonably well. At dusk, after having spent hours directing the builders to remodel the brand new Mathiel temple, Zevio, Norda and Laiest return to their room in the city tavern. On the ground floor, the owner is found, and the bar-restaurant room. Going up the stairs, you reach the first floor, where along a long corridor, there are 6 rooms for rent, motel type. The Torquian bounty hunter is staying in the last room, with Svedroid 2. Becoming the hologram of an orc peasant, who acts as a lookout outside. Norda sees him in the distance, as the Mathiels continue towards their room on the 2nd floor, and notices something strange about the orc, but ignores it, her feelings. This would be the last time the Maidils would stay in that motel. The next day, they would move to the temple, after the rooms on the upper part were built. The Torquian continues his solitary walks through the citadel, avoiding much contact with people. Just studying the streets, the heights, the entrances and exits, the guards with their schedules and the possible escape points. And he also enjoys tasting the dishes in the various restaurants in the city. In the government headquarters, a pair of guards continue their daily round, passing through the library sector. The Spheroid one, already infiltrated in the palace, hidden with the disguise of a decorative armor, receives the call and projects the radio hologram of the Torquian hunter. "Yes, master." Torquian finish off the Zorlok king at the first opportunity that presents itself. Then flee silently and without them noticing your presence. Return to the airship. "Yes, master." Spheroid 1 runs through the large halls of the Orc Palace, disguised as another guard. The Spheroid, posing as an orc, with a hologram surrounding it, continues scanning the entire Tlamiscan palace, and enters the royal hall. "ZVO, and that is why we must increase the number of volunteers who want to pass the tests to become Maidils," Norda exclaims, alerted. "ZVO, did you notice?" "Yes, that orc that just entered the room does not possess any lifelong power," Norda claims. "It's a magical impostor." Looking sideways at the spherical shadow that it projects. "ZVO, or a hologram machine." "Gorlok, a machine." Zorlok shouts. "Stop it." The Spheroid shows itself as it is, and with its dart gun it begins to attack at random. The Maidils unsheath their laser swords, and strike down the poisoned darts in mid-flight. The Panthide, using agile and fast movements, finishes off the robot, throwing its sword at it, like a boomerang. The Orc King, getting closer. "Zorlok, what is that?" "ZVO, it was a Spheroid. A robot capable of floating in the air and generating holograms to confuse. Gorlok, this machine from the Viceroyalty of Bankal clan, it went very far this time." Norda, I don't think it was the Viceroyalty of Bankal clan. ZVO, yes, it is true that they use robots, but this one doesn't have any brand. Also, it has this homemade adaptation of a dart eater, as a launcher of poisoned darts. Wolfer, the advisor, having a well-developed sense of smell, takes one of the fallen darts from the launcher, and smells it. It is grey spike poison. It is a deadly plant that grows on the other side of the world. Raskalin questions. And how do you know so much about this, advisor? Wolfer, in small doses and mixed with tea, they induce sleep. But in large doses like this dart, it is lethal and causes death. Gargoyle Norda clarifies. This machine came to kill or die. The king is dismayed and stupefied. What is happening? ZVO, I'm afraid it is a conspiracy, King Zorlok. And we must prepare for what is to come. Zorlok, the visions of your great master were true. And he sent you to protect me from this murderous machine. I am indebted to you, and to all the Mathils. Councillor Raskellen intervenes. The Bankel clan went too far this time. Zevio, I don't think it was them. This homemade adaptation of a launching darts. I've never seen anything like this before. It's something handcrafted, and not mass-produced as they usually do. Raskellen, fortunately this is over. Zevio, I don't think this is over yet. Among the king's court, there is Sanger, the master of whispers, his chief of spies, who is aware of everything that happens in the capital and in the entire kingdom in general, receiving rumors from everything and everyone. Now, with this conspiracy brewing, he intensified his efforts to find those responsible and heads to roll. Now he received a rumor about a Torquian tourist who spends his time in the tavern and surroundings, nothing suspicious yet. So he must continue investigating others, both residents and casual travelers. The deadly plant of the grey spike grows on the other side of the world, near the desert of Sotazur. Now the objective of the Legion of Spies and Agents under Sanger's command will be to find who could have been in those distant places. In the alley behind the tavern. In a second meeting between Raskellen and the hunter. Torquian, one of my spheroids, was destroyed upon being discovered. Raskellen, yes. They are the new outsiders in the kingdom, a kind of wizards who arrived a few days ago. But once the King Zorlok is eliminated, they will leave. They have no reason to continue staying here. And I will not give them any. I will do everything possible to keep them away. The destruction of my spheroid increases the cost. Throwing another bag with gold coins at him. Even so, our agreement continues. Finish off King Zorlok, and the sooner the better. At dusk, sitting in the outside tavern that looks out onto the square, the Torquian watches. As most of the palace guards abandon the palace, leaving it almost unprotected, to go to the brand new Mathil temple, to practice, accompanied by the Mathil Lyast Kurlog. Watching from a distance, the hunter feels satisfied and sure of fulfilling his mission, seeing that the path will be clear. At dusk, the Torquian takes advantage of the darkness to jump over the lower part of the palace wall, entering through the garden area, infiltrating and eliminating every guard that crosses his path to the royal chamber. In the company of the pair of spheroids that he still has, which acts as camouflage and bodyguards for their master. The trio manage to reach the king's room, and the machines light up the environment. Meeting the two Mathil monks and half a dozen guards protecting the king and his daughter. One of the soldiers blows a whistle, raising the alarm. Others, elsewhere in the castle, echo the alarm, also blowing whistles. The sound is heard outside the palace, which gives the signal for those who have gone out at dusk to return, to surround and catch the hitman. The spheroids begin to attack at random, shooting at everything and everyone, giving their Torquian master time to flee the place. The pair of monks activate their laser swords, striking down the poisoned darts in mid-flight, to then finish off the machines that are not a problem. The Torquian assassin already has the advantage, stabbing any soldier who gets in his way to jump over the palace walls. The alarm sounds throughout the citadel, and the Torquian hunter being the largest, strongest, and heaviest. Almost nothing and no one can confront him, on his way out. Zevio and Norda chase the Torquian, who flees out of Telamiscal and runs towards the forest, towards his aircraft. The alert is above the entire citadel, however, the action takes place in the surrounding forests. With the Torquian facing the Mathiels Zevio and Norda, fleeing from a distance ever closer. Running away is already exhausting, so the Torquian turns around to face the pair of pursuers. And with 30 more royal guards approaching 100 meters behind. First time the hunter-killer faces the Mathiels and their laser swords, which are no match for the hitman's normal bronze swords. Some skeletons suddenly appears from the woods and finish off the Torquian, shooting them with a couple of arrows in felony, unexpectedly. Who only manages to sigh a few words. Traitor. The pair of Mathiels have no problem facing the dozen skeletons. Nor do the skeletons again. Zevio, I'm starting to think you were right about the Bankel clan is not being behind all this. But then who? At dawn, while the fear of the hitman assassin has already passed. Although with the guard reinforced, and most of the inhabitants given over to deep sleep. The Rascalon counselor, taking a secret passage located in his bedroom, walks hundreds of meters, until outside the Telamiscal palace. In the catacombs of what was the old citadel. To meet with his mentor, Riculu. A reptilian who is sad and repentant, and his left eye was replaced. A dark humanoid face appearing, who is the one who speaks and who takes the reins of control. Rascalon advises. Master, I fear that the outsiders interfered and ruined the plan. The face that emerges from the reptilian eye is the one who speaks. Like an evil spirit that came out of the other's entrails. We will continue again and again, until we have achieved the objective of opening our portal and conquering this whole world. End. Chapter 4. The Viceroyalty of the Bankel clan. The third party, a corporation without scruples or loyalties that plans to conquer the entire region. 3 months after the visions of the Grand Master of the Mathiel Order of Xkalistar, in which he sent 3 monks to investigate in the distance. 2 months after their arrival in the Orc Kingdom, and 1 month after the official inauguration of the brand new Mathiel Temple of Telamiscal. In lands belonging to the Bankel clan, a whole series of aircraft, from aero corvettes to aero frigates, travel until they converge in the skies over the citadel built on an island in the middle of the Talsar River. In the citadel of Rilder, capital of the Bankel clan viceroyalty in this southeastern region of the Orange Planet. Their banners hang everywhere, covering the town with their flags. The symbol of magic, the triangle with middle points surrounded by an inner circle, all in yellow on a red background. Inside the administrative palace, the scenery is similar. Walking through the wide corridors, a high official, who holds the rank of governing over several duchies, goes to meet the Zargon. Archduke, I congratulate you on your appointment in the election, Viceroy Zerdak. The Zargon only answers, "Thank you, Archduke. I want there to be profound changes, such as conquering more territories in the region." "So it will be, Viceroy Zerdak." It is the Archduke's answer. In one of the rooms, with a large detailed map on the counter, the officials of the Bankal clan review everything. The Yakarde, head of the armies of the region, makes a comment. "Andralix, it seems that the southern area will be easy to conquer, and then we will see how to continue." Archduke, Marshal Andralix. Our military advisor has developed the strategy according to your orders, Viceroy. Andralix speaks. To obtain a territory in concession, to carry out the landing of our Droizatas robots troops, and to conquer the surrounding areas, to then unify them under our command. It is what is usually done in these cases, Viceroy Zerdak. Archduke Andralix comes from the northern region of the Purple Planet. He has recently been promoted and assigned to our Orange District. He is qualified to command the approaching war, Viceroy Zerdak. Andralix, I trust that you will manage to expand our domains as much as possible. The entire region is desirable. The Marshal only replies, "It shall be done, Viceroy Zerdak." Looking at the huge map of the southeastern region of the Orange Planet, which hangs vertically, some thumbtacks point out the entire area to be dominated, practically the entire hemisphere. Behind the palace, there is the market of the citadel of Rilder, which is a nest of spies. Coming from all over, seeing how the local situation is, among them, an orc, who manages to see how they place a giant portrait of the new Viceroy, Zerdakan. The esplanade of the entrance to the palace. The image of the Zargon and his name is a reminder of who is the new boss in the region. As the days go by, crossing the skies, waves of airships, transporting hundreds and hundreds of Droizita battle robots, arrives at the outskirts of the citadel, to settle in the new forts that surround it. The Council of the Mathiel Temple is an assembly of the most prominent members. In Xkalistar, the Mother Temple, it is made up of 19 prominent members, with the Grand Master as the leader, as moderator in the discussions. The decisions to be made quickly go through him. Otherwise, the Council decides them. Now, in Tlamiskal, as a brand new Mathiel temple that is just starting, the council would be made up of 5 members. With Zevio as the Grand Master leader, Norda, and Lyast Kurlog, along with 2 other members. The most advanced disciples there are at the moment, being the Vamp Ergo Tordic and the Jagard Ergalion. On the upper floor, the open circular room is the place to hold council meetings, with a bell placed on the balcony overlooking the courtyard, whose tinkling is characteristic of calling the members of the council to meet immediately, discussing issues related to the temple and its operation, new promotions, and other characteristic matters. In the brand new Mathiel Temple of Tlamiskal, the Master Zevio instructs the new disciples, who practice with wooden swords. Zevio, that's right, students, you must let the Vitaloki flow. feel with oneself with the vital energy. Thus you will be able to manipulate matter through the mind, based on gentle relaxation movements. Following the coordinated rhythm, they will achieve what they set out to do. An orc soldier appears. "Excuse me, Panthide Zevio, but King Zorlok wants to talk to you." In another sector of the enormous temple, Norda also has his disciples. "Continue practicing, I'll be back soon." The gargoyle walks alongside the Panthide, at least for a while. Zevio, the great majority of the new disciples are training. But the orc Zistel is not there, since he was called yesterday. I haven't heard from him again. "Zevio, I will speak it to the king." Already in the royal palace. In the throne room, there is King Zorlok, accompanied by his advisors, and with Zistel as another of the guards. "Zevio, your majesty, did you want to see me?" Zorlok: "Yes. My spies inform me that the viceroyalty of the Bankal clan is willing to expand throughout the region. Its central administrative zone has received waves of cargo airships, carrying hundreds of Droizita battle robots." Counselor Wolfer adds. "And we have just received reports that an official named Zerdak was recently promoted, and became the supreme leader of the Bankal clan in this region of the Orange Planet. Gorlak, our relationship with the Bankal clan is cold, not to say frozen." The king clarifies. If before the Bankal clan viceroyalty was a simple spark in the area, now it wants to expand like wildfire, and it has already annexed several territories. The Panthide only asks, "Do you think they are part of the conspiracy to start a war?" The orc named Sanger, Master of Whispers, chief of the kingdom's spies, clarifies the situation. "My guards inspected the room in the tavern where the Torquian who was hired to eliminate His Excellency stayed. They found nothing incriminating that linked him to the Bankal clan. However, they will not stop being under suspicion." Zorlok lets go to the map room. Meanwhile they walk through the wide hall. "Zevio, Majesty, changing the subject. I would like to know why Zistel is not training with the rest of his companions. I like to have as a personal guard some orc Madiel Knight, it's just for my precaution. But anyone can fulfill that mission, Majesty. Even so, I prefer it to be orc, and at best, if it belongs to the lineage of my kin." In the map room, on a counter table, showing them, King Zorlok explains. Zerdak considers himself the viceroy of this entire region, although without any political power, and only possessing a few regions under his dominion. His power is like having many islands, and he tries to unite them all, forming a continent under his total dominion. Gorlak, and not only that, he also has a large army of Droizita battle robots. The spies have calculated their number at just over 5,000 troops, and they increase more and more every week. Wolfer, his final intentions are to conquer everything. Zevio, I understand, the Bankal clan will cause them problems, and big ones. Zorlok, this is a map of the region. As you can see, the rivers Talsar and Onal are the main ones in the area, and all the kingdoms are concentrated around them. Then on the sides, the sterile orange desert begins, which is what gives the planet its tone. Seeing how the Panthide focuses his eyes on the strange black lines that separate the yellowish-green color from the orange color, the king explains to the master Madiel the reason for everything. What you see here are the cliffs, where the fertile lands end and the sterile desert begins. Zevio, the cliffs. Zorlok, yes, they are hills about 5 meters high, they separate the living from the inert desert. Wulfur intervenes, adding, it is so arid that nothing grows there. And there are barbarian tribes, the Zavireks, who inhabit it. Gorlok along with the giant sandworms. Zorlok, although we made a non-aggression pact with some Zavireks in this area. Zevio, the Valley of Arsnako, is too far away to be of any use to yours or to cause any problems. Zorlok, even so, it is preferable to have the Zavireks as allies, and hire the services of their mercenary hunters from time to time. Wulfur, the race of the Zavireks are formidable warriors, and it is preferable to have them as allies, even though they have ancestral disputes. Gorlok, our main concern is the possible invasion of the Bankal clan to our northern neighbors, and that we then follow us. Wulfur, possibly everything will be within years, or months. What is certain is that sooner or later it will happen. Zevio asks, and how do you know about all this? Sanger, the master of whispers, adds, in the citadel of Rilder, they do not hide their intentions, and they are rumors out loud in the streets. We only need our spies to go through it to know what happens inside their palace. Zorlok, as you know, to travel from world to world, you need to use the dimensional portals. And there is one near our borders, in the Pumal kingdom of Darsam, and it leads to the Brown Planet. It is known that the Bankal clan hires the services of barbarian mercenaries, who inhabit the Brown World. The barbarian hitmen, humanoids with greyish skin, grouped into various clans, trained in the deadly arts of hunting, offer themselves as mercenaries to fight in other people's wars, in exchange for a succulent pay, brutal by nature. Their presence on the battlefield is synonymous with victory through carnage and merciless slaughter. The orc analyst named Kalzum, a true living computer, who was hired as a menstad in the service of His Majesty, notes, if they want to dominate Darsam completely, they would need to expand into the surrounding kingdoms. Wulfagia is in their sights. From Wulfagia they would move to Versila, then to Corlys. To have them at our doors sooner or later. Zorlok, they would hire those barbarian mercenaries to fight alongside their battle droizatas robots. In that case, we will be lost if they do so. Zevio, I will discuss it with the council. We will see how to act in case things turn sour. Before the Panthide leaves, the king intercedes. One more thing, Zevio. I want Zistel to be part of the Madiel Council of the Temple of Telamaskal. Zevio, but he is only an apprentice. Furthermore, only with years and experience can one climb positions and become part of the council, like a Grand Master. Zorlok. Even so, Zistel will be part of the Mathiel Council. He will be my voice and vote in the decisions of the committee. Back to the Mathiel Temple. Norda says, Master Zevio, 5 more disciples have joined us this midday. They are descendants of slaves, and when they were given the prospecting tests, they passed them. That is why they were authorized to join the temple. Yes, it is fine, little by little we are growing. The gargoyle notices the consternation of his master. What happened? Zorlok called me to consult me about the possible expansion of the Bankal clan towards the northern kingdoms, the ones we crossed on the way here. And what did you tell him? That we will analyze it in council, and we will elaborate a strategy in case of war. Yes, I will gather it immediately. One more thing, Zistel will be part of the Mathiel Council. But he is not a great master, he did not even pass the tests for Advanced Apprentice. King Zorlok wants it that way, he wants Zistel as his voice and vote in the council's decisions. It's unheard of, something like this has never happened in Xkalistar. Zevio sighs. Unfortunately, we are no longer in Xkalistar. In the entire region, there are only 3 laser swords, those of Zevio, Norda, and Lyast Kurlog. They, having the knowledge of how they work and how to build them, have to pass that wisdom on to their disciples, who for the moment only have to be content with practicing with wooden sticks swords. Before the council, with the new addition of the Orc Zistel, now being 8 members. Ergalion, the Jagart, Advanced Apprentice, is part of the council as an assistant. Handing a list to the headmaster. Zevio, we have 50 apprentices in total, and 20 are already advanced disciples. It's time for them to build their own laser swords. Nor do we need crystals to build the laser swords. Lyast, according to the villagers, there is a cave of crystals near the Lake Raman mountain, to the south. Zevio orders. Norda, take charge. The gargoyle answers. Yes, Master Zevio. Lyast, you will take charge of the blacksmiths, so that they build the handles. The orc Lyast Kurlog answers affirmatively. Zevio, these first 20 advanced disciples, will go on a pilgrimage to that mountain, to look for the crystals. If everything goes well, we will probably build a new temple in that place. The orc called Zistel, a simple student who only passed the prospecting tests, and was promoted in rank by royal orders, joining the council, intervenes questioning. A new temple will have to continue depending on King Zorlok, isn't it? Zevio and Norda look at each other, and at the little monster they created. Building laser swords is a whole artisanal job, so in various corners of the temple, the niches of artisans are established, who must make by hand all the pieces that make it up. The gargoyle, being guided by an orc, and with 20 advanced disciples, go on a pilgrimage to the south. The Talam mountain range, there are hundreds and hundreds of mountains that make it up. But the first of these, the ones that give their face to the fertile plains, had to be given names to better identify them on the maps. Lake Raman is the first mountain that is on the banks of the Talsar River. There, they dug into it to build a citadel. Half buried, the other half in sight. It is called Lake Rat. Nearby, hundreds of meters from the esplanade, is the waterfall that feeds the Talsar River. An orc guide takes the advanced disciples, along with the lead gargoyle, to Lake Raman Mountain, to the caves that overlook the waterfall. Norda instructs them. From this cave you can extract the crystals you need, you must let the crystal call you. Feel in communion with this crystal, and it will be yours so you can build your own laser sword. A Vampirg asks surprised. Master, the call of the crystal? Stretch out your hands, and feel how the crystals call you, then walk in that direction. It will be a mystical feeling, deep inside yourselves. Just let yourselves be carried by your third eye, the mental one. Once they have collected all the crystals they could, Norda and his disciples begin the return to Talomiskal. Another 50 kilometers back, in a pilgrimage that took them a day and a half. Meanwhile, on the other side of the citadel, the blacksmith is used to forging all kinds of weapons, including specialized swords, which spies and at the same time professional assassins, known as ninjas, use more as a tool than as a weapon itself. Due to their strict training in avoiding conflict and unnecessary combat, to flee furtively, without being discovered, and with the mission accomplished, is the main commandment of a ninja. There are all kinds of swords placed on the walls, waiting for their owners to come and get them. The young orc named Alsert is the main blacksmith of Talomiskal, along with his father instructor. They had never heard of laser swords before, and now he is curious. Alsert and they say that we should only make the bronze handles for these laser swords. Liest, in fact, we want you to teach the monks of the temple about how to forge metal, bronze in the main. I still don't know how they will do to fit the blade to the handle. It's that the blade is a very short-range laser beam. I don't understand anything you're talking about, but I'd like to see how they do everything. Yes, come to the temple to teach the monks and there you'll see everything. For now, we're looking for something like that. And unsheathing his laser sword, he turns it on by turning the activation screw, like a rotor flashlight. Alsert and his father are really surprised. Liest warns them. No. You mustn't touch the edge. Turning it off. As you can see, by the handle of my laser sword. We want you to help the monks build something similar. The young blacksmith answers affirmatively. In a little corner of the temple, the forge was built, with all the necessary materials and tools. Courtesy of the orders of King Zorlok, with some slaves bringing to the place everything requested. The next day, the orc Alsert is teaching 15 disciples the techniques of forging bronze metal. How to prepare it hot and shape it with a chisel and hammer, cooling it quickly in water. And then continuing with the cycle, until the desired product is achieved. Zevio goes to inspect the temple. The glassmaker builds the circular reflection and refraction mirrors, to make the laser work. The reflection mirror is located in the hilt of the sword, and is in charge of reflecting the light, making it bounce in the opposite direction, amplifying it. The refraction mirror is located in the activation thread, and is almost a semi-mirror glass, in charge of bouncing the weak light, but letting the strong light pass, which ends up forming the beam laser light. Lyaste is in charge of directing the blacksmiths, who work inside the temple, teaching the disciples how to manipulate hot bronze, and other metal casting techniques. Once the metal is raw, it is rolled, and then the blacksmiths take charge, modeling the handles of the shape, size, and internal structure that it should have, such as helical, to allow the fitting of the activation thread, and that when turning, makes the crystals come into contact with each other, activating the laser beam. There are 7 crystals that make up a laser sword: the black, the mustard, the yellow, the orange, the red, the black. These are the 6 main ones that activate the effect, plus the final crystal of coherence, which can be of any color, and which acts by amplifying the effect and gives the final color to the edge. In the Dalamiscal temple, they gradually gather the crystals they need, with emphasis on the 6 primary ones. They get them through the mines in the south, dug into the mountains of the range. Although a second method is through trade. The important thing is to get all the necessary crystals, taking them to the temple, where in a little corner, there is a jewelry store, which is dedicated to polishing and preparing them. Certain monks learn jewelry techniques for polishing and treating any crystal that reaches their hands. The Master Norda, making an inspection, lets the great Master Zevio know. We obtained 100 crystals in total, a couple of which are viridian. The Panthide answers. Good, keep it up, the viridian ones will be used for the library. The white crystals act like a diskette pen drive, they are like data cubes capable of storing information, with which they interact with the gray crystals, which make up serial computers. They can be recorded, erased, read, written, listened to, seen. You just need to put a white cubic crystal in contact with a gray crystal, and you have the interaction. The viridian crystals, grayish-green, are also data crystals. But they are not computers per se, as the gray crystals are. But they are more closely related to magic. A magician, or someone with Vitaloki powers, can activate these crystals, record them, erase them, read them, write them. It is like a sonic mental vibration, and a Vitaloki user, through the power of the mind, interacts with this crystal. They are dodecahedrons minus 10 faces, in a bipyramid, 5 faces above, another 5 below. It is spun like a top in the air, so that its vibrations intensify and thus establish a correct link. They are carved in the shape of a 10-sided die, only much larger, around 6 centimeters in diameter. The viridian crystals, grayish-green, in which the users of the Vitaloki, readmaterials, synchronize through their mental powers, and thus interact with them, through sonic mental vibrations. They can read, write, listen, see, record, erase, and anything they want to do with the crystal. A machine could not interact with these special crystals, because they are really magical. And only someone with advanced mental powers could interact with them. A magician could, but not machines. Carved and polished in the form of a bipyramid with 10 faces, 5 on each side. The user of the Vitaloki only has to use his powers to lift it into the air, making it rotate on its axis, so that it begins to vibrate and so that the link between both, crystal and Vitaloki user, is perfect and without interruptions. Only a master medial can interact with a viridian crystal. In fact, among the numerous tests to become a master, there is the test of interacting with a viridian. Building laser swords is a whole artisanal job, and in certain corners of the temple, these artisan niches are created, with the blacksmith area, to forge the handles and the protective foil. The jewelry area, to polish and work the crystals, the glass area, to make the mirrors. The winding sector, to make the toroidal spirals, the tannery sector. To work the leather for the handle grip, the blacksmith sector, to build the activation threads, the magnetic sector, which sculpted the magnets. The lathe sector, which forged the joint compression springs. The electrical sector, which manufactured the emission matrices. This artisanal work, despite being laborious and tiring, the personal effort invested makes the medial monk ascend spiritually. Having to build one, by hand, each of the elements that make up a laser sword, instead of having to do everything in series as in a factory, this personal effort has no measurable value. In the robots of the entire solar system of Solarium, the logic boxes give intelligence to the machines, and these are filled with blue logic crystals, which are totally loyal to their masters, like a lapdog. Or they are indigo colored, in which they are loyal to the gigantic indigo crystal, 1 cubic meter in size, and weighing a ton. In this case, indigo logic crystals act like a beehive, with the giant as the queen bee. If the giant is at the service of some Bancal viceroyalty, the rest of the robots with indigo logic boxes are loyal to him, like ant soldiers. This giant crystal is placed in a transmitter and governs those who are within a radius of about 1,000 kilometers around. In the middle of the desert, there are some very tall rock columns that can reach up to 300 meters in some cases, and up to 3 kilometers wide. They are hard rocks, which have withstood the inclemency of the climate for millions of years, and which civilizations now occupy to colonize them. Building airports, the only way in and out of the colony. Dedicating themselves to mining as their main economic activity, in addition to the cultivation of mushrooms and spices for food. The Bancal clan, with its viceroyalty in the southeastern area of the Orange Planet, knew how to take advantage of these natural columns, building a whole series of colonies, which make up an authentic archipelago of islands in the middle of the ocean of dunes. The so-called colonies are Cache, Kalajam, and Tonsor, along with an identifying number of the order in which they were discovered by cartographers and explorers. The preferred means of access is by airship, and despite the fact that land circulation on foot is almost impossible due to the giant sandworms, if there is to be one, it must be done at high speed, preferably by means of a moped. Flying over the skies, a Bengal clan air cruiser heads east, towards the colony of Kalajam 14. One of the first acquisitions of the Bengal clan in the region, and quickly adapted to become a modest laboratory. Among the hosts of the Bengal clan, there are the brainers, brains placed in dwarf robots. Gobot types, a mixture of machine and living being, and who are dedicated to science. Mainly building weapons to be used by the Bengal clan. There are hundreds in the region, being assigned to the brand new viceroyalty of the southeast sector. They are named by the combination of numbers and letters. Viceroy Zerdak visits the colony, inspecting the area dedicated to weapons research. Brainer 8I, according to your orders, Viceroy, we continue with scientific development. Zerdak: yes, excellent. The Silents are beings of magical air. Intelligent creatures that build special suits to survive. Since a simple breeze would disintegrate them, but not if they are inside. A special watertight suit, which prevents their life air from escaping. Originally on the Grey Planet, an immense rocky world with an infinite labyrinth under its surface. Of mysterious origin, the magical air, late learned the hard way, to build its own suits, since then, dedicating itself to science if it wanted to survive. Being able to float a few centimeters above the ground, they are so light that they move around like that. The Silents are also dedicated to science, creating weapons to be used by the Bengal clan. In fact, they are the fathers of the Brainers. Being hired by the Bengal clan, some arrived at the viceroyalty of the southeast of the Orange Planet a few days ago, and they have already set to work, building weapons for the Bengal clan. Silent K1 is in charge of leading the rest with the investigations. We are building new variants of robots. They will serve you in combat, Viceroy Zerdak. Viceroy Zerdak is more than satisfied with his inspection of the colony. The Bengal clan began as a simple spark, opening commercial offices in some kingdoms. Then they spread like wildfire, winning concessions in some kingdoms. Now, with Zerdak in power, they want to be a real hell, conquering everything possible. To do this, they are arming themselves to the teeth. First receiving remittances of robots model Droizita from other viceroyalties in other regions, both from the Orange Planet, as well as from the rest of the worlds that make up the Solarium system. Now, building a Droizita factory in the citadel of Linden, south of Rilder, an authentic fortress. End. Chapter 5. Dark Conspiracy. How the plot continues to be woven behind the heroes' backs, where everything turned out to be vaster than they believed. The Pant-Hide Zevio meets with the Orc King in the Dalamiskal Palace. Sitting at the banquet table, having lunch alone. Zevio: but I would also like to know more about the kingdom. Where does everyone come from? While Zorlok pours himself a drink. We have myths and legends about our ancestors from thousands of years ago. It is said that they were servants of superior beings who lived in the middle of the mountain range. On one occasion they fought each other for power, and the slaves took advantage to flee. Collapsing the mountain passes, and walking north, guided by the midday sun, they reached the foot of the mountains and settled here. The citadel of Tlalomiskal began as a simple village of a dozen houses and a palisade to protect it. This was like this 1,000 years ago. What is now the Mathiel Temple was previously the old palace, and was built 400 years ago, and this new palace began to be built 30 years ago. And the mountain range. Can I go to visit them? Yes. I will organize it for you next week. 16 years ago, the Bankal clan set foot in the region, opening offices everywhere, obtaining concessions, winning claims, bringing its battle droizadas and winning wars. From a tiny redoubt, it went on to rule entire kingdoms, in which it put puppets in charge. With satellite kingdoms, following the blind wishes of the administrative centers. Since the arrival of Zerdak as Viceroy-elect for this southeastern region of the Orange Planet, his aspirations have increased, and a lot, wanting to conquer everything, uniting his scattered islands of power, in a single continent under his command. Hundreds of kilometers from Tlalomiskal, in the citadel of Rilder. The Viceroy and his officials are planning their next steps. Walking through the large palace, seat of government Zargon, we have delegations of the Bankal clan in almost all the kingdoms of the region. And we gave our proposals of forced alliance to the regents. It is only a matter of time to see who joins us. And thus the map of our domains will be outlined. Marshal Andralix adds. The rest would only be profits at the cost of invasions, and spoilers of war. Zerdak is excellent, but we also need more communication routes. Andralix clarifies. The Kingdom of Darsam has a dimensional portal that leads to the Brown Planet. Zerdak, yes, get Darsam at any cost. Even if we have to offer them more services than the other kingdoms. I want that dimensional portal in our favor. Zargon, maybe lease it on concession. Zerdak, do it as you wish, but get it as an ally. And the sooner the better. Andralix, that will be done, Viceroy Zerdak. Zargon, one more thing, from the headquarters of the Bankal clan, they will send 20 Droizita legions. Of second line, already veterans in combat. They will arrive at Rilder in a few weeks. Ayakarde asks naively. 20 legions? Andralix, about 20,000 troops. Zerdak, are these the aid remittances when a viceroyalty is about to be born, isn't it? Zargon, yes. The request was raised before your appointment, Your Excellency. The shipment will arrive late. That's all. Andralix, but a Droizita factory is already being built on the outskirts of the citadel of Linden. Viceroy Zerdak used them to occupy positions in important places, such as the citadels of Rilder and the most vital for us. Andralix, perhaps use these battle-hardened troops to lead our next conquests in the region. Zerdak, yes, do it. I want to go see the new territories once they are conquered. In the brand new Mathiel Temple of Telamaskal, new aspirants are arriving. From being slaves, and if they pass the prospecting tests, they will be free and admitted into the temple as Mathiel monks. A prospector is the initiated disciple, seeing if he/she has mental powers of Vitaloki. The simple fact of being able to telekinetically move a wooden sphere already makes him advance to student, where he is assigned to a group class, where he is instructed about the basic handling of how the temple is. If the generalized master considers that in his class there are many very advanced students, these few progress and become apprentices, being assigned to a specific master. From here is the breeding ground for those who face fists and rods in combats against those who want to take the tests to become Mathiel masters. Being evaluated all together, the aspiring master and his numerous rivals, among whom, if they have aptitudes, they become disciple, exercising even more their telekinetic abilities, and if they continue to progress, they become advanced disciple, already the optimal level to begin their career as a Mathiel monk. If an aspiring monk does not pass the prospecting tests, he/she can become a temple sentinel, an unit mixed between monk and soldier, created more than anything to meet the needs of the Orc King Zorlok, who wanted a paramilitary unit of Mathiel-style martial arts. Already as a student, he goes to a class with between 20 and 30 members, where they are taught the basics of how the temple works. From here come the assistants, who are in charge of cleaning and maintaining it, the artisans and others. The teacher of this class promotes the best, the most educated of the educated, and they go to the tutelage of a specific master. Here, already as an apprentice, they learn about hand-to-hand combat, and in the handling of the rod, the simplest and easiest weapon that exists. From among the apprentices, the seed bed emerges, from where some are taken, so that all of them face off against the one who wants to pass the master tests. The candidate who is considered fit to become a Mathiel master, must overcome 7 tests, 2 of which, the test of strength, where he/she must fight against several advanced novices, and defeat them all in a fight of fists and kicks. And the second test, that of skill, with another batch of apprentices, where he must defeat them all using wooden sticks, rods and swords, simulating the real ones. Several masters evaluate these fights, and the behavior within them, not only evaluating the candidate who wants to become a master, but also the apprentices who face him, and thus, the latter have the possibility of ascending, becoming disciples, already being reassigned to a special master, who can have up to 5 members. The advanced disciple is the best of the best in his group. From here there is only one step to become a master. Agree to take the tests when it is considered appropriate. A Mathiel monk leads an austere life inside the temple, he is basically a student. A Mathiel knight is already a master versed in the Templar discipline. You can be a master and still be a monk. since you did not pass the tests of worthiness to be named a knight. The fame of the Medials began to emerge little by little from among the kingdoms and lands neighboring Talamasca. Norda takes charge of the prospecting of those who come to the temple to become monks. First they have to pass the prospecting tests, to see if they have telekinetic powers, then if they are accepted. Those who progressed the most, already being advanced disciples, are practicing with hempwood sticks. In the middle of the main courtyard, the Grand Master of the Order gives them the class. Zivio, yes, like this, they will practice in the 5th Ixi position, handling a wooden stick. If they progress, they will move on to the 4th Ixi, with wooden swords. And thus they will advance, forging the handling of fighting positions. A Wolfer asks, Master, when will we be able to use laser swords like yours? Zivio, first you must master the positions, called Ixi. You will start with the 5th, then 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and so on. When you reach 1st Ixi, you will be severely evaluated to see if you can progress and receive your laser sword, not before. An orc soldier introduces himself. The king requests the presence of Zistel and the pant-hide Zivio. As they walk through the streets on the way to the palace, in the distance, the pant-hide Zivio manages to hear some intermittent words between some orc soldiers. He will come, Goscom soon, receive him as he deserves. The pant-hide asks his companion, who is Goscom? Zistel, not who, but where. It is the capital citadel of Bermagia, the neighboring kingdom to the northeast. A new ambassador will come to Talamiscal to sign mutual support agreements. Support agreements? Far from here is the Pumal kingdom of Darsam. On their northern border, they control the dimensional portal that leads to the Brown Planet. Yes, King Zorlog and his advisors told me about Darsam. The Viceroyalty Bankel sent a delegation to negotiate in Dartsant, the capital of Darsam. If King Pumal accepts them, Bermagia will be worried. That is why they come to ask us for help, in case this happens. Zivio, and why did King Zorlog call us? Zistel, now we will know. With the pant-hide and the orc before the king. Zorlog, the son of the ambassador of Bermagia in Talamiscal, wants to be a Medial. Having Goscom as allies is essential for us. If the son of one of the nobles of Bermagia wants to be a Medial knight, I want him to be accepted immediately. Zistel, so be it, Your Majesty. The pant-hide does not respond, as he doubts the proposal. In the throne room, the king sitting in his royal seat, with his advisors and counselors, together with the two Medials, are waiting for the arrival of the new ambassador. Jagard, greetings, King Zorlog, King of Talamasca. The spokesman announces the king's greetings to his hosts. Jagard, this is my son Clyan, he is the eldest, he is 16 years old and he heard about the Medial Knights, and he wants to be one. Zorlog introduces. Right here is the pant-hide Zivio, the master leader of the Medial Order. Along with Zistel, the best student ever born in Talamasca. Jagart, let's get to the point. The orc advisor Raskellen, as always, is attentive to every word that is said in the meeting. Jagart, if from Darsam they ally themselves with the Bankal clan, if from the portal in their citadel of Kurdan, they allow the barbarians to arrive, hired as the mercenaries that they are. What does that tell us? That tomorrow, Bermagia will not be the victim of an invasion. Zorlok, yes, you are right, Ambassador, and Talamiskol could be next, if Bermagia falls. Jagart, our king wants a mutual support pact. The Orc King answers. Yes, a mutual treaty between both kingdoms. Goskam has received rumors that the Bankal clan annexed the kingdoms of Dardia and Nilkasha, granting them a bank loan impossible to pay, so they had to give up control of the entire kingdom in compensation. Yes, we also know that story. Our king's spies calculated that more than 5,000 robots model Droizita troops have arrived on the outskirts of Rilder, and that many more are on the way. Why do they want so many arsenals, if not to conquer the region? The young Jagart, bored of so much chatter, intervenes to change the conversation. Father, I would like to know more about the Mathiel Knights. Zorlok suggests. Let's go to the royal courtyard to continue our talks. Let's the Mathiels get to know each other. The court heads to the courtyard, while in the royal hall only the pair of Mathiel's knights and the young Jagart remain. Client asks. Are you the leader of the Mathiel Knights? Yes, that's right. Call me Grand Master Zevio. Client, my friends told me about some magicians who don't use magic, and who have a way of life like warrior monks. The orc answers. We are those warrior monks, but we prefer to be called Mathiels. Zevio only says. Zistel, you can retire to the temple, leave me alone with Clyan. The son of one of those nobles, Clyan, also offered to become a Mathiel monk. Continuing in the palace, being received by the leading Panthide in person, who will instruct him to perform the prospecting tests, to see if he has skills in handling the Vitaloki. Seeing that this area of the palace is very busy and crowdly, to have an intimate and frank dialogue. That is why the Panthide proposes. I will see you in the Hall of the Lost Steps, in a few moments. Clyan, the Lost Steps. Why do they call it that? Inside the royal offices. Ah, now I see. The steps reach this hall that only has one entrance. Zevio ready for practice? After knocking him down on the ground with a wooden stick. No, wait. Not yet. I wasn't ready. If you were focused, you wouldn't have fallen. It was a bit of a betrayal. The life of a Mathiel monk is hard and sacrificial, but that inner peace is unmatched by other means. We accept all those who want to become Mathiel monks, and they continue with us as long as they can pass the prospecting tests, discovering them, if they have telekinetic powers, while helping him to get up, extending the stick for him to hold onto. Clyan, I gladly accept the sacrifice. Zevio, I know about Bermagia's agreements with Talamaska. Being noble and joining us will not guarantee you a privileged position in the Medial Temple. This is something that is only gained with experience. Yes, Master Zevio. We have finished our presentation here. I will see you at the Medial Temple, which used to be the government palace. Yes, Master Zevio, I know where it is. Not only slaves arrive at the Medial Temple of Telamiscal, but also nobles, belonging to neighboring kingdoms, who were forced to join the orcs, for a question of resources and sharing water, more than anything. The Clan Jagard accepts the vow of union with the Medial Temple, and Master Zevio has made him gather water in a cauldron, so that he can hit it with the palms of his hands and thus learn to give correct blows. In the Medial Temple, the first advanced disciples are able to build their own laser swords. The first after those of Masters Zevio, Norda, and Lyast. Now, these will be the first to emerge from the brand new Telamiscal Temple. They already have everything they need. The blacksmith forged the handles, the goldsmith built the activation threads with the hollow screw mechanism. The glassmaker modeled the circular mirrors for refraction and reflection, the electrician wound them with copper wire in a toroidal spiral shape. The turner made the compression springs and the transversal screws for perpendicular fastening. The tanner made the rubber bands with lizard leather for the grip. The magnet maker turned the magnets to give them the annular toroid shape. And they have already obtained all the necessary crystals, sitting in the lotus position in the courtyard, and with 15 advanced disciples forming a concentric circle around him, Master Zevio gives them the master class. Zevio, use the power of your mind to telekinetically assemble the parts of the laser sword. Concentrate and visualize everything with the third eye, that of the mind, how everything should be done. Thus, the noble Panthide raises the pieces of a laser sword to be assembled and assembles them in the air, floating centimeters from the ground, before the astonished sight of the others. When he finishes, he turns it on. You will use this mystical alignment to build your own laser swords. So you will trust in it, and it will be there when you need it most. Turning off the sword. Now you must do it. The advanced disciples, squatting around, use their Vitaloki powers to raise the pieces. Fokiera Master Zevio. I still can't get the activation thread to fit. The master takes it calmly. You must trust that the pieces that make up the laser sword are made to be a whole, joining together when they should. Leave your mind in peace, close your eyes, and at the same time glimpse what you must do: assemble the pieces of your laser sword. A Wolfer asks, Master, how is it possible that there are more than 2 eyes? Zevio, the body is an ally of the soul. To the 2 eyes of the body, you have to add the eye of the mind, which would be like a third eye. With this masterful explanation, the Fokiera advances quite a bit. Yes. I almost got it. After assembling everything, he turns it on to the applause of the others. A Vamberg, one of the advanced Medial disciples, confuses the coherence crystal. placing a red one at the end, which causes disturbances in the laser beam. The Panthide notices it, and clarifies. No. Not like that. Activating his laser sword. Zevio, the straightness in the beam of the laser sword's edge, shows us how the life of a Mathiel monk should be, straight and honest. This is how we Mathiel monks live, and our laser swords show us the way to follow. Students, if you place a red crystal as the final coherence crystal, it will cause disturbances in the laser beam. It shows the violence that we must reject as Mathiels. That is why the final crystal of coherence must be any other color. That is neither red nor purple, which is the mixture of red and blue. Vampirg, I am sorry, Master Zevio. But most of my race are colorblind and we cannot distinguish colors very well. Taking crystal by crystal, shaking them at random. That is why we rely on our 6 ears. Here it is, the matte green one. It emits sounds when shaken, and they will be useful to guide me in combat. By making this trapdoor, he concentrates on raising the pieces to properly assemble his laser sword. This time with the edge, the beam of light, color matte green tone. At last, he turns it on, and this one emits a louder buzz than the others' beams. Vampirg, yes, it would be like having a second sonar. Maybe, the Vampirg has cheated due to being colorblind and not being able to distinguish colors very well. However, Zistel and the trio of orcs that accompany him after having passed the basic tests are terrible at handling telekinesis, barely lifting some small pieces of the laser sword that they must assemble in the air, and having to cheat, they assemble them using their hands. The leading Panthide notices it. No, not like that. They must use the power of the mind to raise the pieces and assemble them in the air, without having to touch anything. The orc Zistel intervenes. They can do it by hand. The important thing is to have orc Mathiel knights in the kingdom. It is the king's wishes. The Grand Master explains. If you do it with the power of the mind, seeing everything with the third eye, you will do it well. You will assemble the laser sword in a perfect mystical alignment, and you will feel in communion with it, as if it were a part of you. Telling those sitting next to the orcs who failed, you too, help them. Synchronize yourselves in the Vitaloki, to raise the pieces. Raise the ones they cannot do, and try to coordinate with each other to assemble everything. So they do. The orcs can barely lift telekinetically some light pieces. The toroidal coil, a pair of crystals, the containment ring, the diffusing mirror, and the pair of monks at their side, lift the rest of them, the reflecting mirror, the protection foil, the rest of the crystals, the pot, the terminal pommel, the bolt with the activation thread, the electric matrix, the screws. When they finishes assembling the sword, with a lot of external help by the way, the orc activates it and plays with it, as if he wanted to stab his companion next to him in the neck. Zevio warns. No. This is not the true path. Zistel intervenes, agreeing with the Panthide, so that the other turns off his sword. The master explains. In a violent land, a guardian of peace must be pure of heart. Violence only serves to purge evil, but it is never a way of life. The Folkiera affirms. Is that what mystical alignment is for, Master? Zvo only says. We finish here for today. In the following classes we will continue with the practices of mystical alignment. And so on until everyone does it well, and without help. Return to your other tasks. In another sector of the temple, the young Jaggard empties all the water in the vessel with blows. Approaching the great master while he was passing by. Client, I practiced all day hitting the cauldron of water until it was empty, and now what's next? Zvo, you must be innocent like a snowflake, and move like an avalanche when the time comes. Client answers affirmatively, with serenity in his words. Zvo, you are now in a position to join the temple as a monk, being a student. Go with Master Ergalion, with his instruction, and with time, you will ascend by yourself. The Jaggard thanks him for being accepted as a monk in the Mathiel order. Very far from Telamiscal, hundreds of kilometers to the north. Verdal is an orc kingdom of the eastern plains, its capital is Turug. The Bankal clan bribed some advisors of the orc king of Verdal to whisper in his ears recommendations related to the viceroyalty. Presenting himself in an aero corvette, of all the giant airships, the aero corvette is the smallest. Official of the viceroyalty is taken before the throne room. The old orc can barely sit up and listen to what they have to say to him. Zargon, we offer alliance, king. You join us and we will support you with troops to conquer your enemies. The king can whisper a few words, and his assistant repeats them so that those who are far away can hear. Verdal does not want enemies, it wants allies. Zargon, that is why we offer you our alliance, king. No. We do not want enemies. Whispering to the Zargon. Yakarde, the king is senile and does not understand what is said to him. But we can take advantage of whoever was to be his successor. Yes, take charge of the embassy in the kingdom, and keep us informed of everything. Your objective will be to win Verdal as an annex. Now the Yakarde, a third-level official of the Bankal clan, remains as ambassador in charge of the offices in Turug, the capital of Verdal, and his main mission will be to spy on behalf of the viceroyalty to obtain a new ally. Under the citadel of Telamiscal, a series of tunnels extend, the catacombs, which lead beyond the city limits, to the interior of the forest. From there, continuing for several kilometers, passing the first hills of the mountain range, you reach a castle, ruined and hidden by vegetation. The orc advisor Raskelin, on certain occasions, is absent from his duties as an advisor. Going through secret passages, from his bedroom to the catacombs, and from there to the forest, to travel through it to the abandoned castle. Raskelin informs Rekelia Sinister about every event that took place in the palace, not leaving him any detail. Without explaining, Rekelia Reptilian, who was possessed by the sinister entity, is the one who is behind every evil that there was. And he only mutters to himself, "The rings, I must get them at all costs to be able to activate our portal." In the dark dimension, billions of skeleton troops are waiting for their agent on this plane. Sinister, inhabitant of the evil ring and who takes possession of whoever is its bearer, to open the portal for them to invade. The objective of Sinister is to open an evil dimensional portal that is built in the Dark Valley, 100 kilometers southwest of the citadel of Telamiscal, surrounded by mountains. Demonid, a low mid-rank demon, is his assistant on this plane, and he took possession of the Rascalan Counselor, whom he controls in secret. The skeletons, billions of them, are waiting for the portal that will lead them to the Solarium system to open for them to pass. End. Attentively to the reader and the spectator. As you can see, these were only the first 5 chapters of the 21 per the first book. All with graphics, although they are not edited the way I would like them to be, with the exact position of the drawing, etc. For the moment, my future projects are to be able to publish this first book, Xkalistar, the saga of the Maidals. Even if it means getting funding through platforms like Patreon, PayPal, Mercado Pago, etc. and other crowdfunding forms, and publishing it through Amazon KDP. After publishing this first volume, I would start thinking about the second, already written and lacking corrections and graphics. Already finishing the 3rd and 4th volumes, and having advanced the remaining books, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And with all the leftover notes and graphics, I would publish about 3 compilations, technical guides like dictionary encyclopedias, explaining how I got to where I got and including material and graphics that could not fit into the other books. Being a heptalogy, a saga of 7 books, with 150 chapters in total. Approximately 80,000 words, with 21 chapters and just over 330 pages, about 520,000 characters, with spaces per book, with 1 graphic per page. At the end of 2024, I have Book 1 ready and registered. I have finished Books 2, 3, and 4. With extensive progress on Books 5, 6, and 7, for which I have already drawn the plots and chapters, which will be 150 in total in this entire heptalogical saga. How do the books continue? The various groups recounted in these first chapters continue to expand until they collide with each other in a war from the middle of the book to the end. Books 2 and 3 are about the descendants of the characters from Book 1, with Book 2 being the children of these first protagonists, and with Book 3 being the grandchildren. And here it is, focusing on these new characters, as if Books 1 and 2 were a prequel to show how we got here. Although with the genius that the story is told as a continuous line, without surprises. The 4th book is set about 40 years in the future, from what is shown in these first 5 chapters. Books 5, 6, and 7 would be a continuation of these events from Book 4, which, at the end of 2024, I am still writing. My future plans. In theory, it is considered that if after more than 6 months of having sent the project to an important traditional publisher, if one does not get any response, it is because they are not interested. I consider my project to be very good, it only needs an opportunity to grow and expand. That is why I was forced to create this crowdfunding of patronage, to seek financing from readers and the general public, to bring the project to light through a joint co-edition publisher with Amazon KDP. I am thinking of publishing this heptalogy, saga of 7 books, plus 3 compilation books as a technical guide of how to get to where I am. I have finished and registered the first book, I have the second one complete although it needs to be corrected, such as making the graphics, and other minor corrections. The third and fourth books are also like that. And I continue to plot about what the 5th, 6th, and 7th books will be like, which I will be writing at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, to put a final finishing touch to this saga. Here you had a sample to see my writing style, graphics made by me with the Blender program, and in general, about what my work is like. Summary. There are only 2 ways to publish a work. Either a major traditional publisher takes the risk, hiring the author for a period of around 5 years, buying their rights. The second option is a co-publishing publisher, in which for a price of around $2,000, they do the heavy printing work. I am waiting for a major traditional publisher to appear. Failing that, I am left with co-publishing publishers, in which for a price of around $2,000, they do the heavy printing work for you. I have in mind some co-publishing companies, that is why I request your collaboration so that the books are published. The book itself. It is a fantasy novel, mixed with retrograde science fiction, almost an epic surrealism. Being a mixture of Star Wars with The Lord of the Rings, Dune, David Carradine's Kung Fu Panda, Excalibur, The Knights of the Round Table and The Ring of the Nibelungs. It has a lot of Star Wars in its Clone Wars, between episodes 2 and 3, in my opinion the best of the George Lucas franchise. Something of Game of Thrones, in the concept of the struggles for power, plus something of Warcraft, both from the video game and the movie. A lot of fable from antiquity, like ancient Greeks, with mythical, non-human characters, inspired by evolved animals. The world building is magnificent, very vast, and rich in every sense, with deep characters, with a lot of history behind it and much more to do ahead. Honestly, I have been developing it for more than 20 years. Synopsis. The Medieval Knights, warrior monks who use mental powers to fight for good and justice, find themselves embarked on a difficult mission in a hostile land. A short summary. A trio of medieval knights, warrior monks, have to travel to a hostile land to fulfill an unknown mission, which they do not know what it is, but it still exists. As time goes by, they settle in the place, and found a medieval temple where they instruct other inhabitants to follow their philosophy of life. With several conflicts in between, and so the generations pass. The end. With spoiler alert. After having fought battles here and there, the three Medial monks settle in the place, forming a family, which gives rise to the second book, which takes place more than a decade later, already being the children of these first protagonists. The sinister entity is something eternal, so it continues alive and kicking in the next books, facing the next generations of protagonists more harshly. The hook. The title, Xkalistar, brings reminiscences of similarity to Excalibur, the Arthurian legend, that makes it attractive to the sight and to the pronunciation and the hearing. In the text-to-speech translation programs, like Balabolka, Loquendo, and text-speech, the machine pronounces it Xkalistar. This would be the first generation of heroes. In Book 2, which is already finished, they would be the children and descendants of these first heroes. And so on for the rest of the books. Each question mark means its number, equal 1, equal 2, equal 3, equal 4, and so on until the 7 that I want to complete. Index. The list of chapters. 0. Prologue. 1. The saga of the Medials. 2. The Two Swords. 3. The Games of the Shadows. 4. The Viceroyalty of the Bankal clan. 5. Dark Conspiracy. 6. The Dark Entity. 7. The Passage of the Valkyries. 8. The Horde Pacts. 9. Red Dawn. 10. Horde Agreements. 11. Thirst Wars. 12. Desert Storm. 13. Asylum. 14. The Traitor. 15. Invasion. 16. Baptism of Fire. 17. Promotion. 18. On the Edge of the Sword. 19. Warriors of Light. 20. A Resolution. 21. Union. The rest of the books that I am designing are like this: Chapter 0, which is an introductory prologue, and the rest are 21 chapters per book. Although in the 7th book, which I'm working on it in my head, they will be rounded up to 24. To round up to 150 chapters in total for this epic heptalogy. The map of Xkalistar, in the region where the story takes place, is made with infographic tools by me, and it took me more than a year to design everything. It is 6144 pixels per side. In theory, it is about 2000 per 2000 kilometers. About 4 million square kilometers, half the size proportion between India and Australia. It would be inhabited by around 1 million inhabitants, of all the mythical races. Only here it would be divided into 100 small kingdoms of around 100 kilometers in surface. This would help the plot, as there were political conflicts between the kingdoms, and so the story develops even more as the books go by. About me. I am Mariano Morello. I was born in Tigray. I lived for almost 38 years in San Isidro. And in 2014, I moved to Cuartelvi, Quinto, Moreno, near Jose C. Paz, 50 kilometers west of the city of Buenos Aires, Argentina. I am a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings, and all of them inspired me to start writing, starting in 2003, more or less. In 2008 I started with this novel, Xkalistar, although it was a timid start, because I still needed to polish and diagram a lot of things. At the same time, I dedicated myself to 3D infographics, with programs like 3D Studio Max and Blender, which are used to make computer graphics. From the end of 2019, I paid much more attention to this novel, Xkalistar, leaving aside my other artworks, because I consider this one as the best to kick off and start a whole new saga. My future plans would be to complete the saga with a heptalogy, a series of 7 books, of which, having already prepared this first one and having the second, third, and fourth ready, at more than 3,000 words per chapter, being 22, prologue plus 21 chapters, it would be about 80,000 words per book, more than 300 pages. At plus 500,000 characters, with spaces, 4 book. All illustrated with images, 1 per page. My artwork is in middle way from a graphic novel and an illustrated book, just in the middle, because it has 1 image per page. It is not a comic, because it not have 100% images, and it is not a pure novel, because it has graphics. It is just in the middle. In this end 2024, I continue designing the 5th, 6th, and 7th, plus 3 extra books, compilations where there will be information, dictionary, encyclopedia, extra data and unpublished images. My proposal is to make a book, left page with all text, right page, with half the text, plus a graphic, made by me with the Blender program, free license, where in this drawing some situation would be interpreted at random from those told between these 2 pages. And in turn, in the upper right part, there would be some miniature graphic, to animate the book as you turn the page. It would be 68% text, plus 32% graphics. The Solarium Chronicles refers to a whole fantasy universe that I designed and continued to develop, along with other novels, which have little or no relation to Xkalistar, although they all take place in the same fantasy solar system that I recreated. After this saga, I have others planned, in this same fantasy universe. The co-publishing company would be dedicated to the correction, since it seems to me that my own work has small flaws in the plot, but that, in the eyes of an expert, would be corrected. They would also be dedicated to the layout and editing, that is, the rearrangement of text and images. The compilations would be mostly for fans who want this extra info and in full color. Regarding the co-publishing publishers, among other things, they would also edit the best of the book, so that the images fit in the exact place and in the right measure. Talking with other writers, they told me that the publication of their works was around $1,000. I got in chat with some co-publishing publishers, and they gave me a budget that was around $2,000. since my artwork includes images and is more expensive to lay out. I hope to be able to reach a good port with the publication of my artwork. If you want to help make this happen. For those who want to help so that the work can be published. If you live in Argentina, Banco Provincia de Buenos Aires, BAPRO, CBU 014004413512660348615. Mercado Pago. It is a virtual currency from Argentina. I don't know if it works abroad, in foreign countries. Alias saintshom.mp CVU 000031000143826166959. If you live outside the country, my PAYONNER account 482666719. On my YouTube channel Xkalistar, there are links to other forms of sponsorship, such as PayPal, Cafecito, Ko-fi, Shutterstock, and others. Please follow those links for more details. Or you can buy any of my artworks through the platform. OpenZA.com. Search for author, Saint Shom. Search for artwork, Xkalistar. I have some images at very high resolution, plus 10,000 per 6,000 pixels. At the top of what it gives, and they are mostly in black and white, since I look for extreme realism in my photos. It is fantasy, yes, but I want the images to be as realistic as possible. With the money raised, I will use it to hire a co-publishing house to lay out and print the book in all its splendor. This here was only a minimal sample and lacked the detail that I would like it to have. In general, most co-publishing houses are around $1,000, and the service they provide is more than acceptable. Those who have collaborated to bring the book to light will receive prizes, such as me listening to their suggestions. Character name and plot proposals for the rest of the books I continue to write. Autographed books, as far as possible and keeping the distances. They will be among the first in line, they will be part of a VIP membership. My artwork is very beautiful and I hope it comes to fruition with the publication of the book. After this saga, I have written others, which I hope to be able to publish in the future. After the pertinent corrections. From now on, thank you very much for being interested, even if only by sight. Even if you do not collaborate financially, you help me with a like and a subscription to my channel on YouTube. Xkalistar. Reading this same PDF, contacting me and giving me feedback with proposals and suggestions, possible new ideas, and what to correct and change in the future. Any questions? My channel on YouTube. Xkalistar. My exclusive email for readers, so they can ask me questions about the work. saintshom@gmail.com. Thank you very much for reading my manuscript or viewing this video. This is a review corrected at the end of 2024.